seatbelt light. Please take your seat and fasten your seatbelts. Thank you.
The very first thing you'll do after you install and launch Flare is create a project. But before you even do that, you should take some time to decide exactly what you want to accomplish with your Flare project. What kinds of output do you want to create? Do you need online output, print output, or both? How many different versions of online and print output do you need? How will you name your files to keep things consistent and organized? What kinds of reusable content will you need? Will one author be working on the project, or will multiple people be involved? In other words, the more planning and preparation you do beforehand, the smoother your journey in Flare will be. Creating new projects in Flare is really easy. It only requires a few steps in the Start New Project wizard. You can start by clicking the New Project button on the Start page. Alternatively, you can select File, then New Project. However, if you already have some legacy content that you want to import, you'll want to select one of the other options in the New Project submenu. If you do this, the wizard that opens will be a bit different than the Start New Project wizard. The two most common types of files imported into Flare are Microsoft Word and Adobe FrameMaker. For more details about starting a new project by importing those files, see the Importing Word video or the Importing FrameMaker video. In this movie, we're going to focus on creating a new Flare project without importing any legacy files. So after you select File, then New Project, the Start New Project wizard opens. Give your project a name. By default, your new project files will be stored in the Documents My Projects folder, but you can click the Browse button to choose another location. Choose the primary language you want to work in. Please note that this field doesn't limit you to just that one language. Flare is flexible, allowing you to create content and output in multiple languages, all from the same project. On the next page of the wizard, you can tell Flare which template to use for your project. The idea of a template is very simple. It's an existing project that already has some files and settings in place for you, just to help you get started. If you want the bare minimum number of files, choose the Empty template. Otherwise, you can browse the other templates to find one with more files. The description area on the right will tell you a little about each template as you click it. For more information about these templates and how you can work with them, see the Project Templates video. On the next page of the wizard, you can choose a primary target. A target is a file that takes your content and project settings, puts it all together, and generates your output. As you can see on this page, Flare lets you choose from many kinds of output. The recommended online target is HTML5, and the recommended print-based target is PDF. For more information about each kind of target, see the Output Types video. Choosing a primary target doesn't mean that you're stuck with just that one target in your project. You can have as many targets as you want in a project. You might even decide to have multiple targets based on the same kind of output. Likewise, you can remove other targets that have output formats you don't plan on using. So why do you have to choose a primary target? Well, a primary target is simply a way to tie certain output to the Build, View, and Publish shortcuts in the Flare user interface. You can always make a different target the primary one later on. After you click Finish in the wizard, your new project is created and the user interface is populated based on your selections. Let's take a moment to get more familiar with the Flare interface. We understand that looking at a new software application, especially a really powerful one like Flare, can be a bit intimidating when you're just a beginner. It's a bit like looking at all the buttons and lights in a 747 cockpit when you don't even know how to fly yet. But just know this. Many, if not most of the things that you see in Flare are things that you can ignore when you're just beginning. For now, just concentrate on the following parts of the interface, which are the places where you'll spend most of your time. First of all, right in the middle of Flare is the Start page. As you've already seen, you can use this page to start new Flare projects. But you're also going to find that it's quite useful because it lists your most recently opened projects. So whenever you want to open a particular project to work on it, you can just click it on the Start page. And chances are you'll have some projects that are particularly important to you. So you can hover over those projects on the Start page and pin them so that they're always shown at the top. Two of the most important window panes in Flare are the Content Explorer and the Project Organizer, which are placed by default on the left side of the interface. You can click the accordion bars to switch from one to the other. You might also want to click and drag one of these window panes and then dock it below the other. That way you can quickly access the files in either one. These two window panes hold the vast majority of files that will be used to produce your output. There are several different kinds of files, but that's a good thing. In other authoring tools, you're probably used to everything being part of a single file, the content, the table of contents, the glossaries, the styles, and so on. It's not like that in Flare. Instead, most of the pieces are separate. Think of them as building blocks. This is one of the things that helps make Flare so powerful and gives you so much flexibility in how to create your output. The Content Explorer holds all of the content files in your project. Primarily, we're talking about topics, which are the main files where you'll type and add text and other content. But the Content Explorer also holds other supporting content files, such as images, style sheets, and so on. An author can do all kinds of things in Flare, but most of your time is probably going to be spent creating and editing your content files, so you'll be using the Content Explorer a lot. The Project Organizer holds all of your project files. By project files, we're talking about files that contain information about how you want Flare to use and present your content when you build the final output. There are all kinds of files in the Project Organizer, but that doesn't mean you'll need to use all of them. The most important project files are targets, because those are the files used to actually generate your output. In addition to targets, you're also likely to spend time working with tables of contents, or TOCs. Other commonly used project files are conditions, skins, and variables. To add a new content or project file, you can simply right-click on the appropriate folder or subfolder in the Content Explorer or Project Organizer, and then use the Context menu to add the new element. When you open a project file, it will open in an editor designed just for that type of file. But the thing about project files is that once you have them set up, you don't often need to go back and work in them. That's not the case with topics. When you open topics from the Content Explorer, they open in the XML editor. This is the editor where you'll be spending most of your time, so it's a good idea to become familiar with it as much as possible. This editor is sort of like working in a Word document in some ways, but there are definitely some unique features in Flare's XML editor. For one thing, you'll notice some structure bars to the left and above the topic content. These bars can be turned on or off by using these buttons, but they're one of the best features in Flare, so you should try to make use of them as much as you can. For more information on these bars, see the structure bars video. You might also see some unusual objects, icons, and brackets alongside your content. These are called markers. Like the structure bars, they can be turned on or off from this drop-down, but they're kind of nice because they give you more information about what's going on in a topic. For more information, see the markers video. If you're familiar with HTML, you might like to use the tab at the bottom of this editor to switch over to the text editor, where you can actually edit the HTML code. If you're not familiar with HTML, just ignore this feature for now. You don't need to know HTML in order to use Flare. When you're working in the XML editor, you'll probably find that you'll use some of the buttons in the local toolbar a lot in order to insert certain features. This is especially true of these 4 buttons, to insert cross-references, images, snippets, and variables. There are all kinds of other features that you might insert into a topic by using some of the ribbons at the top of Flare. Obviously, the Insert ribbon is going to be useful to add a variety of things to a topic. Chances are probably pretty good that you'll be using about a half dozen of these buttons somewhat often, but the rest of them more rarely, if ever. If you like to add tables to your content, you'll obviously be using the Table ribbon a lot. And then there's the Home ribbon. Some of the buttons in this ribbon let you use local formatting, especially those in the font section and some in the paragraph section. But we actually don't encourage you to use those. You'll probably need to use this button to create numbered and bulleted lists, and the other buttons to the right of it can be useful, but otherwise, we'd recommend that you avoid using the others. We only included them in the interface due to federal regulations. Just kidding. Instead of local formatting, you should concentrate on using styles, so you're very likely to use the Style drop-down field on the Home ribbon all the time when applying styles to your content. Alternatively, you can open the Styles window, which is just another method of doing the same thing. A few of the other most used features on the Home ribbon are the buttons to create new snippets, apply conditions, and find and replace content. Aside from the topics, you might find yourself spending a lot of time working on your style sheet, which controls the look of your content. Styles are very important for Flare projects because they allow you to keep the presentation of your content separate from the content itself. Styles are a very big subject, though. Too much for us to really get into in this video. Therefore, you'll definitely want to watch the series of videos on styles. But if you're just starting out with Flare, try concentrating on the areas we've just discussed and don't let the other noise distract you. So now that we've created a new project and loaded it into Flare, what's next? Well, almost everything you do in Flare can be assigned to one of the following 5 basic steps. Step 1, start a project. We've already done that in this video. Step 2, add topics and other elements to your project. We've already talked about this a little bit. If you want to review a relatively comprehensive list of the elements that you can add to your Flare project, see this topic in the online help. Step 3. Make things look good. There are various ways to make your project look good, including skins, styles, lists, auto numbers, page layouts, and more. As we've already mentioned, styles are probably the most important to understand because they are so central to single sourcing and to what you'll be doing in Flare. See this online help topic for more on making your project look good. Step 4. Develop your targets. As we've said, these are the engines that take your topics, styles, and more, put them all together, and generate your final output. So you're going to want to create various targets that are based on the outputs that you want to produce. Then you'll open each target and tell Flare how you want it to behave. See this online help topic for more about developing targets. Finally, Step 5. Build and publish. When you're all done creating your topics, adding content, making sure everything looks good, and defining your targets, you'll want to generate and publish your targets. To generate output for a target, just use this drop-down from the project menu. There are additional ways to generate your output, including scheduling builds. You also have the option of creating a destination file if you want Flare to automatically make a copy of your output files and put them in a place you specify. For more information on building output, see this online help topic. You may also want to download and read Flare's Getting Started Guide. This PDF covers much of the same information that you saw in this video, but it also walks you through the exact steps. In addition, it's a really good idea to download the Getting Started tutorial. This is a PDF manual that guides you through the creation and development of an actual Flare project using our San Diego template. Thanks for watching, and happy authoring!